official Riot Games WREC EMEA Championship.
Everybody round here know we get hype. Everybody round, 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 everybody round here know we get hype.
Welcome back to the WREC EMEA Championships. I am James O'Leary, joined by Stuart, fresh off being memed by our players in our very first interview. On day number 1, starting as we mean to go off. I love it. Players can keep bringing them. Keep bringing them.
I can't believe our nation said that. He's definitely gone up on my tier list for sure. I'm going to put like in little brackets as well. I'm going to be like Status King next to it. He's definitely gone up in my tier list for sure.
I'm going to do a banter tier list a little bit later on into the season, and our nation, you're already there. Like you're already in it. I mean, we knew. Anytime we put out content like that, you've always got to have the receipts ready, right, for when the players come back. Although they've just had the thing about like their favorite foods and that. Apparently, all of our players are obsessed with pizza. Which I guess is just a thing. Anyway, less about food, more about Wild Rift. We're heading closer to our second series of the day, and it's going to be an interesting one. I hope not quite as one-sided as our first series, but I actually thought this one was going to be the one-sided one coming in, as I know you did, Stuart. ViV Esports. I know we're going to hear a little bit more about the teams later on, but first initial thoughts on ViV as a team.
Yeah, I think ViV Esports, I think for some people, definitely the dark horses coming into the tournament. I know me and you were quite lucky that last month we were able to watch some of these members on the team. They were previously called Free Team. They got to the playoffs in the previous community tournament as well. So we know some of the players, they've been together for a while as well. And on the other side as well, you know, Principality, kind of, you know, another Spanish organization coming into the top 16 that we don't really know too much about. There hasn't really been too much about like the names of Principality and everything. So, you know, as you said, you know, coming into this, we'd think that ViV Esports is going to be the heavy favorites, and the first series is going to be a bit of a close one. But you never know, it might be the complete opposite. Maybe this one will be a really, really close series. Yeah,
that was the interesting thing that our nation said to you was like, oh, we think we're the better team compared to ViV if they are the team that they face in the next week or next round of games. Let's hear a little bit from Hells on what his thoughts are on this second series of the day.
Yeah, new organizations indeed, and that's definitely a key point from these two matches, because as the last series, these are two teams that we just don't know too much about. And I know from ViV Esports that they have some good players, but are they going to be forming a really good team like Zero Zone, who were incredibly good in the last series? So it's very interesting to see these newer teams form up. And talking about newer teams, ViV Esports is indeed the dark horse for us right there. And what that means is basically this is the team that we have our eyes on, and we feel like this team has potential to beat out the big guys. It's an incredibly strong roster, and it's especially incredibly strong because they have a member who's called Kranix, who's a former WREC member. This used to be their ADC, one of the best, or sorry, Dragon laners, because we cannot say ADC anymore right now. This used to be the Dragon laner from WREC, an incredibly good player who is on the main lineup of ViV Esports right now. So these are definitely the key points to take a look at from this game, and now tossing it back to Stress and Stuart.
I'm gonna make sure before like chat and the community blow up and there's gonna be a thread saying they can't say AD carry. No worries, nobody's told us not to say AD carry. Nobody's said not to say top lane. It's okay. We can say anything that we want about that. But however, the Wild Rift terms, at least for those of us that used to play on PC, they kind of die hard a little bit. So Baron lane, Dragon lane, we'll try and keep it Wild Rift as much as we can, but the odd AD carry is gonna slip out here and there. Let's take a look at the rosters and see exactly who is filling in each lane from the side of ViV Esports and Principality. So on, I think the blue side for game number 1 is going to be Millip, Tyrus, Shugs, Kranix, and Ryu. On Principality side is Sensei, Amy, Blaster, Jesus, and Luis Mavado. Trying to get my accents correctly as a Welshman. I can do some of the pronunciation required from Jesus, but we'll see when we get into game. That might drop when we get into team fights.
Yeah, I think you did pretty well with the accents there, to be fair. Probably a lot better than what I would have done, to be honest. But yeah, both of these rosters, obviously, we've mentioned ViV a lot as well. Yeah, Principality, we don't really know too much about with the members. But yeah, ViV Esports, Hell's already spoke about already. We're talking about the Dragon laners. We're talking about Kranix, formerly known as Friend, used to play play on WREC.GG. WREC.GG last year went all the way to the Origin series, went all the way to the final. Unfortunately, lost the last hurdle to Team Queso. So we know Krennic's in the Dragon lane already. We know how well he can perform. Not really too sure if he's really comfortable on these AP mages down the Dragon lane. Obviously, we haven't seen him for a long time since the Origin series of last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of fits up into this meta of AP mages down to the duo lane.
Yeah, that's really fair. I think one of the other players on the side of ViV that I'm more familiar with is Tyras. I've had the pleasure of, I believe, casting Tyras in some previous mobile MOBAs. So there's a history of competition there that we can't really overlook coming into something like this, where it's an open tournament and all you really have to do is play consistently and play to your own style, because you can't really prepare that much for your opponents. We're heading into picks and bans for our first draft of Series 2. It is ViV Esports on the blue side, Principality on the red side. Let's just get through the easy stuff. Set, Jace, Camille, probably going to be the red side bans. Camille's the open one a little bit more. Ooh,
yeah, kind of expected bans that we're expected from the red side. Again, blue side can be a bit more flexible. They can maybe take a priority in their first pick and think, okay, we're just going to ban out the other champions that could be annoying, like the Lee Sin, obviously that early game champion that has so much pressure, and we've seen it already in the previous series as well. Jace being banned away, again, no surprise. Just we're not going to be seeing a lot of Jace. We're probably not going to be seeing a lot of Set either. And it's not really a surprise. Yasuo, interestingly enough, being banned. Maybe it's something that we don't really know about Principality. Maybe that's like a pocket pick. Maybe it's a target ban towards Blaster, or we'll have to see. Wait and see what happens with that one. But yeah, as you mentioned, Jace Set, 2 bans already gone from the red side.
I thought it was interesting in the break where we saw the content with players, Joey talking about how good Garen was, and we saw that in our second game of the day already, how strong that can be. So may well be a first pick. Fiora taken away, one of those picks that can go jungle, can go Baron lane. Camille taken out of the draft as well. So you and I normally at this point would be like, okay, we got Varus, we got Orianna, we got Ziggs. So you don't have to first pick a bot lane, unless you want to go Morgana, because they didn't even mention it.
Yeah, Morgana's an interesting first pick. I mean, we haven't really seen a lot of mid lane or Morgana. We mainly see it down in the duo lane. We'll have to see. It's obviously a flex pick. You normally see flex picks normally on the red side of the draft because they do have that last pick potential. But the flexibility of the Morgana in the first draft is first part of the draft is very, very interesting. Galio and Renekton, though. So Renekton we didn't see at all in the first series. No. I don't think it was picked or banned at all, so completely different priority for Principality. And then the Galio we've mentioned already, you know, doesn't have the combo this game with the Camille. And wow, a Vayne in the first part of the draft. That's something that I definitely could have predicted.
Wait, is that so? They have flex, right? Because it could be Morgana bot lane. It could. I hate seeing this in my solo queue games. If that's a solo lane Vayne into Renekton, I'm probably gonna scream because I think it's so annoying when like it's always your Vayne feeds on that. So that is incredibly early. It's not gonna be solo lane because it has Darius. So that means either Morgana jungle or mid lane with Vayne down in the bottom lane duo. Which, I mean, now you pick an early game carry in the bottom lane, surely, right? Like you have to look at a Varus. Like I feel like she struggles against the likes of Jinx, that kind of thing, where they can scale as well, but have that range and push early on.
Yeah, I think the thing with Vayne, I think when she goes up against some AP mages in the bot lane, which we might see in this series, is that most of the time them AP mages down in the duo lane are not really an early game threat for Vayne. So Vayne is able to stay in the bot lane and farm up. Now, one thing that might actually come from this draft, which I actually spoke to Rio a little bit before this series, is that it might actually be him on the Morgana support. He was saying that, you know, Morgana support could be a thing as well. Morgana with like Caitlyn, which is a classic League of Legends duo that I know me and you know very, very well from the good old PC days. Caitlyn Morgana was a very, very annoying combo to deal with. But yeah, moving on with the draft, you know, Olaf being picked now, so it's a really good top lane jungle duo on the side of Principality. You're seeing Zed being banned, interesting enough. We haven't seen a lot of Zed priority, which, you know, last month when we last saw, you know, these teams that last saw Wild Rift competitive, the likes of Varus and Zed were the ones that were being them first pick priorities, but now it seems like the meta is, you know, slowly shifting.
Yeah, that Zed allows you to go for that AP carry in the bottom lane and have a well-rounded damage comp. I really hope that Morgana is now going out into the support role, otherwise we're leaking strats for slightly, unless Rio's been playing it in solo queue. I really hope so. We'll see that as it goes. Zed banned away, Ahri banned away, so taking away some of those AP mid lane, sorry, at least Ari's side AP mid lane threats. Early game bot lane is taken away. That's exactly what we were talking about with this Vayne, is like early game threat is what she doesn't deal well with. The likes of Misfortune is also available. Lucian is another pick that can really bully quite early on. Not so standard in the current meta, but Wild Rift doesn't really have that foundation of a meta yet. We have ideas and we have bits, but it's certainly not as hard and fast as League of Legends and PC can be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still early days really for Wild Rift. It's still only, you know, this is the first season of the Wild Rift competitive scene. So the meta is all over the place. And speaking of meta being all over the place, that's a Lulu in the support. This is a really, really old combo that we used to see last year for Wild Rift. Lulu plus Olaf. When Lulu was first released last year, she was one of the strongest supports out there. And combined, with Olaf, you know, giving him the extra health, giving him the shields, giving him the movement speed as well and the attack speed. That combo can be so deadly, but leaving the AD, it seems like, to last pick, which means that Galio is now going to move into the mid lane. It seems like it's not going to be support Galio of what we've seen. So last pick AD or AP mages for Principality. Java now being picked up on the side of ViV Esports. And this draft over to the side of ViV Esports, there's a lot of team fight potential. You have Morgana Ultimate, you have Java, which wants to lock enemies in place as well. You have Garrus, which is going to be running around as well. And a Corki pickup.
Oh, we're playing PC. Galio Corki. We're playing PC League of Legends. Thank God these games can't go 40 minutes long. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, this is a matchup that we see fairly commonly because Corki outranges Galio, and Galio can't really do too much in the early game, but neither is going to do too much until team fights. Last pick now for AD carry, or at least bot lane carry for Principality. I mean, in solo queue, you see Lulu picked with things like a Vayne, like a Jinx. I do wonder whether they need early game. That's late game, so it's not early game at all. But I kind of like Principality's comp. It's kind of well-rounded. They've got early game threat with Renekton, with a dive buddy of the Galio, and then ultra late game 2 carries with like Kai'Sa and Olaf. But there's a Vayne on the other side. You can never count Vayne out in the late game. That's where she shines.
Yeah, definitely. Vayne is by far one of the best late game, if not the best late game champion. See, the only thing I would talk about from Viv's drafts is they don't really have a lot of AP damage. They have the Corki in there, which is a little bit of AP damage. Obviously, it gets like converted. I think it's about 80% AP damage that he gets, but he's still going to be auto attacking. So if like the Galio, the Renekton, the Olaf as well, if they build armor, if they build like the plated steel caps to kind of deny some of the damage from the Corki. Obviously, you have Vayne, which has a little bit of true damage as well, and Morgana might be going for. I mean, we'll have to see what the build is for Ryu down in the support role for Morgana. Maybe we'll have to build a little bit of AP damage, because other than that, you know, Viv has a lot of AD damage. But on the side of Principality, they have the AD carries. This is first time I've seen an AD carry versus AD carry matchup in a long time in Wild Rift. So it's going to be interesting how this one plays out. But yeah, they have the Galio in the mid lane as an AP damage source, and they have the Olaf Renekton in the top lane as well, which Darius will have to be very, very careful, because that's a really scary top lane duo.
Yeah, now the kind of like taking what you just said about the AD carries, and the reason that we haven't seen them so much is like a lot of this mid game relies on wave clear, and now I'm pulling that through into how the mid game plays out. Like that mid lane is a lot less much of like clear the wave, move out, clear the wave, move out. Like Vayne struggles with wave clear, she always does, and like unless you got some janky build with you know, if you're one of those people that builds like Static Shiv. I'm trying to remember, Static Shiv is in Wild Rift, right?
Yeah,
they took it out of PC like 2 years ago, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's that, but I'm not advocating for it. But all I'm saying is she lacks wave play without it. Anyway, really interesting draft. Very different from game number 1 of the day. It is ViV Esports against Principality. We're onto the Rift already, and we're 40 seconds in, and we're into the laning phase to start things off. So we'll have to keep an eye on how this bottom lane goes. I think like so much of it is focused on late game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both these team comps do really, really well in the late game. You know, you've got Kai'Sa Lulu on one side, you got Vayne Morgana on the other side. The Vayne will be able to get the black shield, which is really, really important in this game, because you got the things like Galio taunt, you got the Renekton that can also taunt you as well. Even things like Olaf as well with the slows. You know, and Morgana shield can be really, really helpful when it gets into that late game. But for now, it's just going to be a bit of a stalemate for the moment. There's some fighting happening in the top lane. This is twice now already that Millip's gone down to this low health. He's already taken a honeyfruit in the top lane as well. But meanwhile, on the mid lane, there seems to be a little bit of an exchange, but looks like they're just shaking hands for the moment.
Yeah, Tyra's coming in to help push that mid lane back out, as Shargs is the one in the lane as that Corki. I mean, this is why we've seen so much Renekton in that Baron lane, right? Is that early game presence is so difficult to deal with. He's always going to be known for it. In Wild Rift, he actually kind of stays quite effective throughout the entire game, especially pairing with a Galio. He runs right into the back line, stuns the carry, Galio comes in, knocks up the carry as well, and at that point the carry should be dead. So theoretically, I really like the Principality composition, and it certainly will have impact in team fights.
Yeah, I thought we was going into replay there, but it looks like we're just changing screens and everything for a second. But yeah, in the spot lane at the moment, it's going to be kind of a bit of a farm fest, to be honest, with these two carriers. Obviously, both of them. And again, look at that. Milip again going so low, and Amy's here as well now, and could be a little bit scary. Looks like Milip's just going to back off for now.
Yeah, already ignited. Sensei doesn't have that, so that's the moment where you have to be careful. Once your summoner is down, you can't really overextend under the tower. That's how you end up leaving them on 1 health because their barrier is still available, and then you die, and you had all of the lane advantage, and it's lost. But I kind of expect to see ViV push out this middle lane when they can. It's a little hard against the Galio, and try and secure one of those first objectives. I think they have a really strong teamfight comp in their own right with this Jarvan, with this Darius, but I don't think it's quite as easy to get to work sometimes as bringing that Galio in across the map.
Yeah, definitely. It's, you know, like you said, you know, you've got the global pressure of the Galio in the early game. Going to be going back to the, I think it looks like he's picking up the Rod of Ages for now. Interestingly enough, now I know there's going to be a lot of backlash for this build, but we've seen it a little bit more often. Corki is going for Black Cleaver as the first item. Now, I like to call this meta of the moment kind of League of Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver seems to be on pretty much every single carry that you see at the moment. You'll see Darius build it, Jarvan will build it, Olaf might build it as well. Corki, it looks like starting to build it as well, which doesn't really work too well because, as we mentioned already, you know, most of the time Corki does AP damage, so the Black Cleaver passive doesn't really do too much to help. But I think as an item overall, you know, it will help the rest of his team out, like the Jarvan and the Darius. But, you know, as you mentioned, you know, these first objectives, Scuttle Crab's up now, we've got 5 seconds. There's going to be an Ocean Drake to start off, and Principality look to be able to, they got full control of this Dragon Pit already.
Yeah, they're already here, although Renekton hasn't been able to cut down into the river alone yet. If somebody hasn't done the math on diminishing returns on multiple Black Cleavers and whether it's actually useful, someone should do that, please. You'd help me out astronomically. My mathematics is terrible, so please feel free to assist the casters on that one. So no objectives started yet. This is this awkward moment where you're trying to decide whether you want to match their play or go for your own and just handshake. And finally, Tyrus is just going to say, screw it, let's do the Rift Herald. Let's take that one. Although in these extended team fights, Ocean Drake could have quite a big impact for Principality.
Yeah, the extra healing that you can get on the side of Principality, you know, on top of like the Lulu, you got the Kaiser as well, that's going to be getting a lot of healing. Renekton and Olaf as well, going to be getting a lot of healing from the Ocean. But as you said, shaking hands for the moment, which is quite interesting because we saw Olaf actually invade early game onto the blue side of ViV Esports. We saw the complete reverse, which in PC League we like to call it like kind of split map in a way. So we saw early game, you know, Principality and Amy being able to focus on the top side, but now it's the complete opposite, and that's first tower of the game already going down on the side of ViV Esports.
I quite like that they focused that top tower as well, because it puts the pressure on Sensei, who was running away initially with this game, but now is down 500 gold, and more importantly has less room to work with this, right? He now is a bit stuck under tower for a few moments until he clears that out and pushes it and gets out into another wave. So I think, in my opinion, I like the use of Rift Herald top.
Yeah, I could totally agree with you. I mean, like you said, you know, Sensei was kind of having a free day in his top lane, you know, multiple times he's going in, and with Amy being up there as well, was able to just get so much pressure in that top side. So now with the tower going down, Sensei has to play a little bit more passive now. He can't really be as aggressive as he was before. And saying that, he's still taking trades, and he still just wants to fight every time. And with Amy up here as well, Milip needs to be a little bit careful. He's playing really, really aggressive in this early game.
Yeah, 1 versus 1, this Renekton can deal a lot, and 2 versus 1, Darius may very well struggle in this top lane. Does have his barrier available. Ignite is available as well, but that has been thrown down by Sensei. It's going to be a push on towards the top tower as Darius finds some solace in the river, but it might run into Kai'Sa. At this point, ViV don't have anything to do to answer. A little bit of a misstep at this point. They're going to try and go mid lane, but there's the flash out. Well timed. It's actually not a flash out at all. As it was... he used the ultimate to dodge out of the Cataclysm. I don't know that I've seen that go exactly that way before.
Yeah, if you can auto attack the Jarvan, and if Jarvan actually goes close enough to the edge of his ultimate, you can actually use Killer Instinct to dash out of the Cataclysm, which is one of the great things about Kai'Sa and why, you know, she's quite mobile as well. And you can see this Lulu Kai'Sa combo that's roaming around at the moment. You can see the kind of the problem that ViV have really with this mid lane control. With Vayne, what you talked about during the draft, you know, Vayne doesn't really have a lot of wave clear. And both these teams don't really have a lot of wave clear. No. Kai'Sa has the Academy Rain with the first ability. It's now evolved now, going for the BF sword, executing the calling and longsword. So she's able to push out that mid wave. And every single time you're seeing Rhea and Kranix in this mid lane, kind of staying underneath their tower, which at the moment is giving Principality all this pressure. And that's how they got that pressure in the early game and how they were able to get that first dragon of the game.
I'm glad I have you here as somebody who's played a lot of Kai'Sa. I watched your stream when you were playing Kai'Sa. I'm the AD carry that if I'm not literally just auto-attacking, I'm probably useless. Other than Varus, like, I'll put that down. But like, I can play a brainless champion, and as soon as I have to think about things, it's gone. Like, that's why I'm not used to some of those Kai'Sa mechanics. But certainly, Jesus has that Blade of the Ruined King now. Getting towards that second evolved, is it off Blade of the Ruined King, or do you need one more dagger in order to get the second?
You either go for Stinger or Recurve Bow, depending on what sort of build. Stinger will go into Nari Charge Blade, but some people like to go Dagger for the Runa's Hurricane to just get a lot more spread damage. And you can see as well, talking about builds, Ryu is actually going for like a full AP Morgana build, which I really like. As mentioned during the draft, they don't really have a lot of AP damage, and especially because Corki's going for like this Black Cleaver Solari Charge Blade sort of build, which is a little bit interesting. We normally see items like, you know, like last game, Essence Reaver or Manamune into that Solari Charge Blade, just going for the crit build. But this build is more about Corki trying to help the rest of his team, being able to reduce the armor of the side of Principality with his third ability, reducing the armor, and also with Black Cleaver as well at the same time. So kind of more helping and not being a main damage source than being a main carry that Corki can be. But we're told and Dragon's back up again. We might see a handshake a completely opposite way around, but both teams trying to get that mid lane priority.
This time the package is here for Sharks, and you can see there's a little bit more of a fight. Javan's already started the dragon, but this pressure is starting to build. 9 minutes without a kill is a very long time, but both of these teams have really solid late game. Javan should be able to take this before anybody from Principality can contest, but now they're going to try and take the Rift Herald. But at this point, ViV can come and cut up into the river, and they've actually split Principality. Binding lands onto Galio. No Rift Herald taken yet. It's way too healthy at this point, and maybe this is an opportunity to ViV to just say, okay, let's just try and take mid tower, push it back out, and prevent Galio from at least getting in. But that ultimate is there. That ultimate is available. Package, I believe, was about to expire on the timer, and now the Dark Binding lands. Dominus pop by Renekton. There comes the Galio ultimate, and it's actually going to hit 2 members of ViV, but the Vayne has already taken out Olaf, but some of the damage is gone. Morgana is going to stasis with the chains, locking. It's a double kill for Vayne. It's a triple kill for Vayne. It's going to be on day 1, looking for the Quadra. It's not going to be anything more. It's going to be 2 kills going over to Sharks and 1 over to Millip. It's a triple kill for Vayne. I thought that a Penta was in mind, but it's a clean ace for ViV.
That was so close. Kranix was one of the players that we were talking about at the start of the day, and you can see in this team fight that the mid lane priority was the key. ViV was able to go to the mid lane, they were able to push out mid lane, and you can see in this team fight, the back line on the side of ViV just had no problems at all. Both Sharks and Kranix just free hitting in the back line. The Black Shield was there as well, just in case they did get engaged on. But as I said, that mid lane priority, ViV members were able to rotate mid, clear out that mid wave, and Galio was just clearing the mid wave. Obviously, he can come in with his ultimate, but if you get hard engaged like that, and the binding as well by Ryu on the Renekton, catching out the members on the side of Principality, a great team fight, and ViV Esports are just kind of running away with this game now. They got full control.
I had the Penta in my sights. I was like, as a Vayne player, I'm like, yes, this is exactly. I've already got the triple, and they're both low health. I'm just going to chase them down. But I mean, for Vayne, 3 kills at this point may as well be a Penta. Like, she just got the gold injection to be like, okay, second item, all of my with the stasis enchant, I'm now basically safe. All I have to do is play to my own range and everything's fine. I'll just walk this team fight down. I don't really know, apart from getting caught on the side lane, how Principality are going to turn this one around. With the Olaf, they should be able to take this down quite easily, pick up a kill. But here's the engage in middle lane. Cataclysm dodged out once again, was used with the ultimate from Lulu to make sure that Kai'Sa survived. But this is a jungle versus AD carry matchup that looks a lot less damning than I thought it was going to be because of that interaction.
Yeah, the interaction there helping out. I don't think Lulu really needed to use ultimate. I think he was just playing safe. But Millip in this top side at the moment, but I already talking about the early game about him playing really aggressive. A little bit of an overstep from him. Most of the time when you're split pushing in situations like that, you need to kind of look at the rest of the map. You need to communicate with your team, because if you don't have any pressure in the mid lane, if you don't have the minion wave in the mid lane, then and if you don't really know where the jungler is, and if you don't have any vision, then there's always that possibility of the jungler being there, being able to catch them out. And you know, it is a kill over to Principality. That is their first kill of their game, and that's not something that ViV Esports, you know, wants to really deal with. To be honest, if you get, you know, little tiny mistakes like that, that's a way for Principality to come back into this game. In a 5k gold lead at the moment, this Vayne is still really, really strong. 3-0-2, has a Blade Rune King, has a Sorry Charge Blade, going for the Wit's End as well. And once this Vayne gets 3, you know, even 4 items as well, that's really when this champion can come online and start to be a force that Principality don't want to deal with.
Yeah, that's so true. A couple of items being built so far by both teams to try and combat some of the strengths of the others. I love to see the Oblivion Orb on the full AP Morgana this early on, cut through some of the healing that's going to come through from the side of Principality that we already touched on. Likewise, on the other side, the Shadows boot enchant is going to reveal Vayne if she's one of the targets, but Vayne is going to play with Fire 1 versus 4 around the middle lane. Don't need the Shadows enchant for that one. However, ViV kind of have the momentum to go down towards this dragon and look at taking their second of the game with this mountain.
Yeah, you can see again, it's a situation where the jungler, again, for the side of ViV Tyras, is just being able to take the dragon for completely free. And meanwhile, ViV are just distracting all the members of the mid lane. The Rift Tower's been spawned, but the dragon is still at 2k.
Kranix is low though, and if he gets caught, this might very well be enough. Forced to stasis out early on, and it's going to be an attempt from Renekton to get into the back lane. The dragon has been stolen somehow by Galio as Principality. This is way closer than it should have been from the way that this team fight started. And Millip is going to try and clean the rest of it up as Dunk Master Darius gets himself a 3-pointer.
They were trying so hard there to try and contest the dragon. Even though Tyros was doing it by itself, it was going so slowly. And I think it was on about 2,000 health when Principality realized, wait, we need to actually do something with the dragon. And you can see the team play here in the back line. Kai'Sa trying to jump on Shard, but Shard doing so well to escape all the time. But Millip, look, in this back line, being able to just dunk and get the resets, being able to get the ultimate resets as well. Just getting an auto attack onto Jesus, boom, another dunk. And then Blaster as well. There's just no way you can escape. Another dunk as well. And once Darius could get the resets, which he was really easily being able to do on a, you know, someone like a Lulu that doesn't really build a lot of defenses. So if you get the reset on the dunks, if you can carry on auto attacking and getting them stacks of the passive, he could just keep dunking for the rest of the game. And Millip, we've kind of spoken about him being a little bit aggressive, but in that team fight, he was the dunk master.
Yeah, it did everything he needed to do. I feel like Kranix getting chunked out to start that fight, that feels so bad as a Vayne because you're so short range. You're like, okay, I can't really do too much in this fight. So maybe that's one of the reasons why Principality were able to kind of turn this one back around. It's a 2 versus 1 in the bottom lane. Olaf is not going to be there anywhere near enough in time. And now this this Vayne, I should say, is monstrous. Going to try and chase down Olaf in the side lane as well. Dark Binding does land mid lane. Sharks should have enough to pick that one up. It's not enough as the Kai'Sa tries to stay alive. Will try and get one more as Lulu's fallen. It's just falling apart at the seams for Principality. It looked like ViV maybe had found a bad fight for themselves in the previous one with Principality. Now 3 people down as Baron is up. That should very well be the objective.
The reuse on these on this Morgana this game with the bindings have been so clutch, you know, during the Rift Herald fight as well, and that mid lane pick onto Kai'Sa, who Shark's just behind, just really easy pickings at the moment. And this Morgana support, we spoke about this Morgana dual lane, we spoke a little bit about Morgana mid lane. Morgana support's not really something that we normally see, because with supports, you don't really get that much farm, you don't really get that much gold, so sometimes it's hard to be able to do a lot of damage and be that wave clear tool. But you can see he's building Rylai's Crystal Scepter, he's now going for the Andrews tournament, and with this combination of these two items, your pool will be able to slow, and it will also give you more damage from the Andrews tournament as well, because if you don't know with the Andrews tournament, if you do slow or immobilize the champion, you will be able to deal more damage. So the combination of two items, then you have Ludens for the extra mana as well. And again, he's like the AP damage source, even though the rest of his team is AD. He's the support, and he's the one that has all the AP damage source. You can see the port is just slowing all the members in the binding. Morgana support's actually doing quite a lot of damage.
Wow, that damage was huge onto Jesus. I was about to say that, like, despite the fact that this Kai'Sa was put back early on in the game, I feel like Jesus has soaked a lot of the incoming minion waves and actually has about equivalent gold to Vayne, which, considering this game is nearly a 10,000 gold difference between the two, at least gives Principality a way out of this, but there's not enough damage to eat through the health bars so far, and multiple waves of super minions are pushing up towards the inhibitors, and it's really just one fight left for Principality. If they can get another good one, there's the package in from Corki, and the health bars have fallen already for Viv, but it's all about Kranix. Can the damage come down? It's Sharks that picks up one. It's actually Ryu that picks up the second, and it looked like a good start to the fight for Principality, but Viv easily shut down that bottom inhibitor.
Yeah, I think Principality are feeling the pressure now. They've got two inhibitors down. I think they were trying to team fight because they know that if they lose these inhibitors, then it's going to be really hard for them to come back. If you don't know in WREC, if you come consistently, the inhibitors don't actually respawn. But you see, Kranix was actually stuck here. He was in stasis, and it was a really, really good knockup for Blaster, but there was just no follow-up in damage at the moment. ViV Esports are just so far ahead in gold. You can see Kranix is just, he doesn't care at all. He's a Vayne now. He has 4 items, exactly. He knows what he's doing. It's actually the Elder Dragon that's spawning now as well. We're fast approaching into this late game, and if Viv can take this, that's going to be game over.
Yeah, Ryu looks like he didn't have stasis for that one. His Elder Dragon's still 1,600 health. Doesn't even need the jungler here, as that's a double kill for Millip. It was the layup from the Vayne to start this game, but Millip has been crushing these team fights for the last few minutes. And aside from one big Kai'Sa play with this Renekton, I don't think that there's a whole lot more in the tank for Principality. They're going to try and push down the Nexus in favor of Viv. In goes Kai'Sa, out goes Kai'Sa, and down goes Kai'Sa as ViV Esports are going to take the Nexus and take game 1 against Principality.
Yeah, a very, very good game for the side of ViV Esports, and overall really, really solid performance. Again, going into this, we will talk about Kranix in the duo lane. In the first rotation of the draft, he picks Vayne. If that's a statement, if you want to make a statement in your first game of the EMEA Championships, first picking Vayne with a Morgana support in the first rotation, that's one way to deal with it. But you can see, you know, in the end, Principality, they were just going for the desperation in the end. They were trying to team fight. They knew that if they were going to lose the Elder Dragon, especially Elder Inferno, there's no really coming back from that. And in the end, ViV Esports take a pretty convincingly first game of the series.
Yeah, that was, yeah, convincing is the best way of putting it, especially when you pick Vayne in round 1. That's kind of like almost suicidal in a way, because I feel like it should be a difficult game to play out. But this fight, like just setting up the Vayne for triple kill, I think this kind of took away a lot of the worries that I had anymore for the Vayne in this composition, because it allowed Millip to get online. Millip just kind of rolled through these fights with the Darius, and I still like what Principality brought to the table. I think I'm so glad to see it was a close game with some of these team fights, because I think if just a few things go a different way, Principality actually could quite easily have taken this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even though we say that it was a convincing win by ViV Esports, it definitely wasn't a complete stomp that we really saw in the first series. There were opportunities that Principality had to try and come back into this game. But again, you know, we spoke about it really the start of it and in draft as well. We were talking about that mid lane priority and that mid lane, you know, pressure that can be taken from these two teams. And even though they both had AD carries, they both didn't have the best of wave clear. ViV was the ones that were roaming around as 5 members. They were the ones getting that mid lane priority. And you can see, if you have that mid lane priority, and if you have that pushing mid lane pressure, you can look to roam around to these objectives. You can look to try and control the river. And as you can see, you know, in this last clip here, Principality, they were trying to go for the Elder Dragon. They were trying to pretty much force their way through into the Elder Dragon to try and steal it in the end. But unfortunately for them, they weren't able to take the first game. And ViV Esports, they're going to be going into this second game feeling very, very confident.
Very confident. I mean, those little areas in the jungle where you're collapsed in. Morgana loves fighting there. Vayne loves fighting there because the condemns are easy. Like hard to approach the dragon at that point. And I think ViV with this Vayne with the Darius is too far ahead. I thought it was a really good performance overall. Actually, I know Sharks had a quiet game, but as we head towards our play of the game, like talk us through exactly the way that the multiple carries played out a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we spoke about Vayne, we spoke about Darius. They're kind of the main carries, and it's going to be around this Rift Herald. We had to do it. Vayne was so close. But as you can see, Vayne all the time. If you keep your eyes on Vayne, he's just auto-attacking for free. There's nothing on the side of Principality can do about it. And when Vayne is just able to just be in the back line, auto-attack multiple times, and he was so close to getting the pentakill. He was the one that we were talking about in this series. If he got a pentakill as well on first rotation Vayne, that would have been just the nail on the coffin, really, for me. I mean, that would have been just been so good, to be honest, to be able to get Penta. But in the end, unfortunately, it was just the triple.
I'd have packed up day one. I'm like, Penta, we peaked. Like, I'm just going to go. Like, don't worry about it. No, I mean, great performance from the Vayne. I want to talk a little bit more about jungle and mid lane as we head into our second game, but that is going to come up in just a few minutes' time. We've already seen 1-2-0 today. I'm kind of hoping to get a third game in this series, but it is ViV Esports going up against Principality. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Breathe fire, your eyes so bright, the dark will guide us through the night. Bye, bye, my love, I'll shine for you in the dark. My tribe of stars. And I breathe fire. Your eyes so bright, the dark will guide us through the night. Bye bye, my love, I'll shine for you in the dark with my tribe of stars. My tribe of stars. My tribe of stars. My tribe of stars. My tribe of stars.
Welcome back, everybody, to day 2. It's our second series already underway. We're 1-0 up from ViV Esports going up against Principality. And that was a closer game, but a different game to what we were expecting. Some really odd and good meta changes. And Stuart, I am going to ask for your opinion in a couple of moments' time. There's somebody I want to hear from before we get a long time to talk in game 2, and that is Hells. I know you, Hells, you're watching game 1. You have some key points that you want to bring up as we head towards game 2.
Yeah, definitely stressed. So this was a crazy game, and especially crazy for ViV Esports. Their team fighting was so amazing, and like you could see it through the early game. That moment when Vayne nearly got the pentakill, right? They just played it perfectly. Vayne in the backline, the bruisers going in, buying a lot of time, and the support, Ryu. Oh my God, Ryu! Can you even call him a support anymore? He was playing the Morgana and he was roaming around constantly. He was doing constant rotations, helping out everyone throughout the team. In the late game, dealing so much damage. And talking about the late game team fights, ViV was full of carries. Every single players of their team could carry the team fight. You know, Corki can carry it. Darius carried one of the team fights with that passive. Vayne, do I even have to mention Vayne? Morgana with that ultimate. Corki, just they were all carries, and that's what made ViV absolutely dominating in this game. So that's it for the key points, and now tossing it back to Stress and Stuart.
I think volume of carries, it was so evident in those team fights. You're like, oh, Krennic's died. Okay, Shags and Millip are just here to like shred everyone. Stuart, thank you for joining me again for game 2. Fun game 1, but a little bit different on the meta than we were expecting, right?
Yeah, I think both of these series already, we've seen a completely different meta in both of these series. We've gone from not seeing Morgana really a lot in the first series to like a first pick Morgana Vayne rotation. And it's going to be really interesting to see. Now, probably the sides are going to be swapped. I wouldn't be surprised if Principality would want to take red side now, and ViV Esports might be on the ViV Esports might be on the red side, and Principality might be on the blue side, which might change things up. We'll have to see as we get into picks and bans very, very shortly. But my eyes are all on the ViV Esports now. Are they going to try and take this Morgana first rotation again, and even take Vayne early on? And what I want to see from Principality is this early game pressure. You know, if they want to pick Vayne again, we need to see some aggression down the duo lane. I feel like there wasn't really much pressure down the duo lane. You saw Amy on the jungle kind of focus more on the top side, which did work a little bit in the early game, but going into the late game, Garrus was able to just dunk around, and as Hell said, you know, multiple carries. There was nothing really that Principality could have done about it.
Yeah, I totally agree on the early game pressure. Full disclosure, I'm not a challenger player. I hang around about in Diamond and Emerald, but whenever I'm playing Vayne, I'm like, if I'm facing a Misfortune or a Varus or something, or like a Caitlyn, anything that can pressure you in lane, that's when it feels the worst, right? And Stuart, I know you play a lot of Dragon Lane carry yourself. Like, that's how you punish a Vayne, and if you don't, prepare to lose the game. Because there's not many champions that can deal with her when she's far ahead.
I think that's a problem, especially the early kill around the Rift Herald as well was so huge. But enough of us talking about the previous game. We're going to be getting into picks and bans for game number 2. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what sides these two teams pick. So it's going to be ViV Esports now on the red side and Principality on the blue side. So Principality now are the ones that are going to get that first pick priority. Are they the ones that maybe going to be going for that Morgana, or are they going to look to ban it out? But it's going to be Varus being that first ban to start.
Okay, so just historically in draft, blue side banning a particular role gives you a good idea of their thoughts for first pick. I would be eyeing up, like, are you going to ban Varus and try and first pick the Morgana for like the bot lane? So you want to take away one of those strong laners. Lee Sin banned red side. This is something we really haven't seen, because red side normally you have to ban like Jace, you have to ban the set in the current meta, typically Camille, but removing that jungler, Galio gone as well. Like, there's a lot of these picks that haven't always been banned away, taken out of the second game.
Yeah, interesting enough, that's the first time we've seen red side Lee Sin being banned first. Maybe kind of baiting Principality in a way. Maybe they are the ones that might ban Jace or Set instead. They're going to go for the Olaf instead, though. Now, Set. It's all eyes on Set now. Are
Is it
ViV
getting
going to
through?
ban Set? It's
Oh.
not going to
It's
be
open.
banned. Now Set is open. Will it be first picked here on the side of Principality? I think all eyes are on the Set now. It's only been out for a while, and there we go. Set. We get our first game of Set in the EMEA Championships. The first really competitive game that we've seen of Set as well. Now, speaking quickly of Set, we've seen him play in multiple roles. He can play in the Baron lane. We've even seen Set jungle as well. He can sometimes be played even in the mid lane and a support. So Set first pick is such a huge flex pick, and we don't really know where this Set's going to go. We're gonna have to see for the rest of the draft. But the Morgana is open. There we go again. Even though we saw Ryu play it in the support role, again, it's another flex pick. And we always talk about draft stress. I mean, I think we kind of repeat ourselves so much, but flex picks are always such a huge thing, especially on red sides.
It's the strength of red side. It's a fundamental of drafting in either League of Legends or Wild Rift. Like red side drafting, the punishment for not getting, well, the benefit for not getting first pick is you get last pick and you can flex all of your lanes. That's a thresh taken already, so it's not going to be the support Morgana this time. We've heard the rumors about jungle. We have seen it as a bot lane carry for the Morgana, so I think that's where I would assume it's going to go, but they have that room to play with all the way up until the last pick.
Yeah, so interesting enough, they're not going to be flexing the Morgana to support, but again, it can still be flexed to mid lane and Dura lane, sorry, down in the Dragon role, but Camille being picked and also the Corki as well. But again, Camille's another flex champion. Camille most likely will be going to the Baron lane, but can be played in the jungle as well. But if I was to predict how this draft is kind of going, we're looking at Camille in the Baron lane, Set in the jungle, and then Corki either down in the Dragon lane or in the mid lane, depending on where the second phase goes. But we're looking at another pick now for the side of ViV. Maybe looking to try and keep that Morgana flex pick. So we might see either a top laner or a jungler. It's going to be a Jax. Now, Jax did recently get nerfed. His attack speed did go down, which kind of nerfed his wave clear in the jungle. So we've seen a little bit more Baron lane Jax in the current meta, but it primarily still gets played in the jungle. But again, it's another flex pick on the side of ViV Esports. And now we're just going to be looking at the second part of the ban phase to see what these two teams are going to ban.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this, we saw the Set first pick. I was like, all right, so Set's going to flex his abs, but everybody else is like flex everything. Just flex the entire draft all the way through. I kind of agree. The changes to Jax. I also think that like when you look at the two champions, like Set wants the team fight and he can solo lane on a side lane on his own for a while, and then Jax is just going to murder him if it's ever a 1 versus 1 later on. So if it is a Baron lane Jax, then that would be what I was expecting. But Principality indicating that they don't want them to be able to flex it into the jungle from the side of ViV by banning out Millip's Darius that we saw in the last game. Really strong performance from that Darius. So just shutting out some of that potential.
I think this is very interesting. This is kind of Principality forcing the Jax to go into Baron lane, forcing that Jax to go up there, because you're banning the other Baron laners, which means that Jax might have to go up to the Baron lane and they might have to pick a jungler instead. We'll have to see what their second ban is, or maybe they know that this Jax is definitely going to be in the jungle and they're just banning out Baron laners. But that's sometimes what happens, we talk about red side with the flex picks, but sometimes on blue side, you can kind of force the pick to go into a certain position depending on your bans as well. As mentioned, Darius taking that away from Miller. We saw the dominant performance in the late game last time. Again, another Baron lane being banned away as well in the eyes of Garen itself. So we're looking at potentially a mid laner and a Baron laner for the side of ViV, but we'll have to say.
Because so Hell's at least in the pick and ban phase of game one was saying that when you see a Diana ban, when you look at mid lane specifically, like Orianna, one of the only champions that she doesn't deal well with would be Diana. However, then Zed's available if you want to take an AD assassin because you've already got the Morgana. So as I was kind of processing it, I'm like, well, Zed's up and you've already got your AP damage, and Jax has AP damage hidden in his kit in the Empower as well. So yeah, Zed taking as the assassin allows him to keep flexing a little bit on that Zed until the last pick.
Yeah, so again, like you said, leaving that flex pick till last. Is the Jax going to go Baron lane? Is the Jax going to go jungle? We're going to be rounding out the draft down the side of Principality. Alistar support, we don't really get to see it too much, to be honest. The only bad thing about Alistar in this against the side of ViV Esports, and especially in the Dura lane, is that when Alistar tries to headbutt, if Ryu can time the flay from Thresh, he can actually stop the headbutt pulverize combo completely. So Thresh is kind of a counter really to Alistar, but Alistar could be that frontline tank. And what we're looking at the side of Principality in the moment is just pure team fight. Set with the suplex, Alistar going in with headbutt pulverize. Wukong as well, even more team fight pressure, which looks like this might, honestly, this might be a mid lane set. It could be a mid lane Camille. Honestly, these 3 champions in the top side of map of Principality can honestly go anywhere. All these champions can go in every single role.
This would be a fairly new matchup to us, at least I would imagine, Set versus Zed. I'm trying to think it through. You do get the shield. We'll leave that to in-game if it is in fact the case. There are a couple of changes that could happen before that. So likely jungle or top lane, everything could just be side lane carry. Those are ultra strong side laners, Fiora and Jax. Like if you let them 1v1 on the side lane, both of them are just going to take over the game. But like when you've got a teamfight composition like Principality, hard to do that, surely.
Okay, I'm going to take a punt here at what I think is going to happen. So I think it's going to be Wukong in the jungle. I think it will be Camille top and then Set mid. That's what I think. I think it's going to be that. I mean, Camille mid could also be a thing as well, but I think Wukong could definitely go in the jungle. On the side of Viv, we kind of have a bit of a, you know, we kind of know what's going on. I think the Jax will go into the jungle and I think Fiora will go in the Baron lane, but it can be flexed around the other way as well. But a lot of flex picks, and maybe their teams don't even know themselves really what they're going to be playing as they get into the second game. But yeah, you know, Principality is all about team fights, headbutt pulverize, the Wukong Cyclone, the Hextech Ultimatum, the suplex as well from the set. If they can group up on the side of Principality, they'll be able to take down members on the side of ViV Esports. But ViV Esports, as you said, you know, they have the side lane pressure, they have the Jax, they have the Fiora that can go into the Baron lane and go into the Duo lane later on. And then they have the Morgana for the mid lane, they have the Morgana for that wave clear, which Principality don't really have, and that could be the main difference in going into the second game.
With a Thresh as well, and Thresh gives you so much unlocked potential to disengage in that mid lane. The way that you historically play 1-3-1 is side lanes push up, mid lane holds, and then backs away as soon as the enemy team try and engage. You've now got to throw a Zed into the mix as well, who's just going to be able to go into the side lane and 2v1 all the time. It's a little tricky for Viv's comp to pull off. You're saying, ooh, I'm guessing it's a Thresh here being up in top lane.
Yeah, that's a bit interesting, but go on.
Ryu's here. As soon as they see the Thresh, that's a flash. Instant respect on the support being here.
I wasn't really saying ooh about the Thresh, but Thresh being top lane is very, very interesting. I'm not saying ooh about the kind of the way the draft has got. I was a little bit right. I was right with the Set mid lane, but it's actually Wukong Baron lane. Now, Wukong Baron lane, we've not really seen too much. We've really seen him in the jungle role, but there's been a few patches where Riot have kind of tried to nerf jungle Wukong and kind of tried to force Wukong in the Baron lane. Extra healing now towards minions. He doesn't get as much attack speed from jungle camps anymore as well. But I think Wukong's definitely going to struggle against the Fiora and Camille in the jungle as well. She's going to look to try and rotate, try and get to level 5 as soon as possible, and use a Hextech Ultimatum to go around the map.
I haven't spoken too much about Ryu coming into the series, but after a strong Game 1 performance and seeing him on this Thresh, just walking up, knowing Alice is out of lane, he's like, I'm going to flay you. I'm still level 1, but I'm just going to whip you and flay you in the lane, take half of your health and force you to take the honey fruit. So I'm really liking how Ryu plays, at least just from his play style alone.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's one of the players coming into this tournament, which we weren't really too sure about. He has played in other roles before as well, but he's recently gone down to the support role. But when you're paired with a player like Kranix as well, they probably learned so much from each other. I mean, Ryu just knows so much about the game. He's been around the Wild Rift scene for such a long time as well. And when you pair them two up against, pair them two with each other, you know what's going to happen. You can see headbutt pulverize. And again, that's actually another thing as well, is the
Black Shield.
The Black Shield as well. I was talking about the flay, but for some reason, it completely blew over my mind. The Black Shield is another thing as well that kind of counters Alistar in a way.
Yeah, well read from Kranix. It also is going to help counter Set the later this game goes. Set, of course, with that big suplex, it is all about single target, dragging them into the backline. So if you can never find a target, another thing as well, that does more the tankier the opponent he picks up is. And Jax and Fiora don't get that tanky. Like, they fight you and they outlast you, but we're not talking like a Malphite or a Rammus or anything like that. Like, these are picks that want to duel with damage in the side lane, not just stand there and be tanky.
Yeah, I mean, the typical bruiser, really. You'll see them build like a little bit of tankiness, but most of the time you'll see like Bladed Ruin King, Trinity Force, which doesn't really give you a lot of tank stacks, more going for that dueling potential. Set is definitely an eye we have to keep on in the mid lane as we see Ryu going mid
Blade
lane.
comes through from Ryu. He's even going to kind of block the ability for Blaster to ult there, and now Kranix is going to back away. This is slightly earlier than we normally see it, but Duo lane swapped into the mid lane, and it's going to open up the Zed to go bot and open side of that side lane pressure.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing this, I think, throughout this whole tournament, really, and throughout definitely the next this weekend. Anyway, you'll see the mid lane or the duo lane, sorry, on some teams go into that mid lane, just trying to get their mid lane priority, and that's one of the things.
4-player dive. They've got a cannon minion as well to at least push under tower. It just means that Millip has to get it there. Can't quite get it. This is like the tragic thing. Now they're even going to reveal that Kranix is here, and it means that Sensei can't really do anything in the lane. I think that fact that cannon minion didn't push under the wave has just saved Sensei's life and potentially set up this Rift Herald, because everyone is now converging. Package is about to spawn, and Corki is in base ready for it.
Yeah, the package is going to spawn 4 minutes. Is the Ocean Drake as well as the first dragon, but it looks like both teams are kind of looking around this Rift Herald at the moment. It's going to land as well. I think that's just going to be a little bit of poke damage, but it looks like ViV just don't want to contest this Rift Herald at all. They might be looking to go towards this first dragon.
If you'll indulge my analysis hat for a moment, it's not typically the role I'm going to take on. I wonder whether Rift Herald is more important for ViV to take because they're trying to play 1-3-1. So breaking that mid lane tower is infinitely more important for a team fight, for a comp against a team fighting composition. I'll shut up about that though, as Jax has been caught out. Tries to flash the lantern, can't quite get there. Both neutral objectives are going to go to Principality. That's huge.
Suplex. We love to see it. We love to see a suplex, the first suplex of Set in the Wilder Rift EMEA Championships. And honestly, like, ViV are really slow on the rotations in the early game at the moment. They had the mid lane priority. They were trying to go up into the Baron lane to try and get a pick, but instead they couldn't get anything. There's fights happening everywhere.
Ryu's caught in the middle lane as there was a bot lane fight as well. It is going to be maybe a kill going over. No, actually, Jesus has managed to back himself away. Flash into the fight from Fiora. Millip trying to get that grand challenge to work. Does now proc it on to a second target, looking for all of those vitals. Can't quite get it. That's going to prevent the heal coming through, and Millip ends up falling. This team fight composition out of Principality a little harder to kill this time around.
That empowered rocket by Corki right at the end, landing on Morgana, landing on both Kranix and Ryu. They both got to so low health, but a little bit of an oversection. Millip was able to trade 1-for-1 in the end. But yeah, as you mentioned, the team fight composition of Principality are kind of offering at the moment and kind of being a little bit of a danger to ViV. As I mentioned already, the early game, ViV were a little bit slow on the rotations, and Principality were able to get the first 2 objectives. They were able to get the dragon and able to take the Rift Herald. ViV did take the first dragon of the game, but again, it's all about this mid lane. You can see both duo laners down in the mid lane at the moment, trying to get this mid lane priority so they're able to roam around the map. At the moment, this Set is getting quite far ahead, and with Set, most of the time, if you do get ahead with Set, if you fall behind with Set, it can be a little bit of struggle. If you can get ahead with Set, and if you can get a few items, especially when you have the likes of the Haymaker Shield, you have the Suplex as well for the big massive team fight potential, he's definitely going to be something that ViV needs to somehow deal with.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways of dealing it is, as we mentioned, their composition wants to be on the side lane and wants to peel Principality across the map. You want to make sure that they can't take a 5v5. And that's what that first tower of the game is going to start to do for ViV. But there's been a good effort from Principality to attack this Zed in the bottom lane and just make sure that he doesn't have free reign in a 1v1. And we'll have to watch whether this mid lane fight plays out in the side of Kranix and Ryu, because their job in this game is basically don't die. But if they can get a catch, then that works too. Alistair hooked in. It's 3 versus 2 as Grand Challenge comes out. No vitals proc. That's going to be a disengage. But again, that's what ViV need their middle lane duo to do. They do have to crush that tower though at some point. Actually, that's a really aggressive play from Tyrus. I don't know that that's exactly where they want to go. Rift Herald using the bottom lane, that's going to put even more pressure on Zed. They're only 200 health left on the tower, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're just funneling gold onto the set at the moment, but ViV are looking to try and create that pressure. Hook just misses by Ryu, unfortunately, and they're not able to push down the mid lane. But yeah, that mid lane exchange was like flash, headbutt, flash, dash. Everything was happening at once in the mid lane. I'm not really too sure. Both teams were like, okay, we're going in, no, we're going out, we're going back in again. I think the headbutt away from Alistar kind of baited the Wukong in the end as well, because Wukong tried to flash forward to help his team. But yeah, they're funneling more gold onto this set at the moment. I haven't really seen the item builds for a while. I think he was going for the Black Cleaver really as the first item. Yeah, Black Cleaver, looking to go for the Steric Stage as the second item. So again, League of Black Cleaver, you're going to be seeing a lot of Black Cleavers on multiple members on the side of both teams really. Go for that Steric Stage, being able to get the extra shield as well. You know, Steric Stage shield onto the Haymaker as well will be such a big shield and such a big thing to go with. But he could be caught.
Challenge comes out, Suplex comes through, but Suplex City population is full right now, and Blaster will fall under the tower. That's this side lane pressure that this Fiora is going to open up. Now the team fight in mid lane attempted to be started by Principality, but disengaged is enough to get ViV out.
I want to bring up one of the key points that actually Hell's brought up in between game 1 and game 2. Ryu again with the roaming potential, being able to roam and kick off the set, and that means that this is a 4 versus 4 situation.
Oh, they need to buy time for Fiora here, though. As you said, it's 4 versus 4. It's even, and it shouldn't be when one member of Principality was dead to start this off. Now they've got Fiora in the mix. They can continue this fight as ViV get the first kill. Morgana ultimate is not really going to lock anyone, but it doesn't matter because there's the kill on to Jesus. It's Rift Herald has gone over to Principality. Dragon should eventually go over to ViV.
Yep, here's the Inferno. I was about to say Elder Inferno. That's from last game. Infernal Dragon. We're getting a little bit too ahead. I'll get a little bit too ahead of myself here, but they're using this Rift Hold to try and create pressure in the mid lane. Let's go out again.
Into the hook, Flay, and Fiora's found a low health Alistar. Should be able to at least force him out of the fight and tidy that up. The set trying desperately to get the damage down. Does get the shield. Survive face breaker isn't enough to break Zed's health bar, and Zed survives. It's starting to swing ViV's way.
Yeah, ViV Esports at the moment, they're not going to be able to take the Dragon off of this. It looks like Principality are the ones that are going to try and do it, but Amy's really, really low.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is a fight you want to take.
Millip can get over the wall, and here's the damage coming out from ViV. It was a bit of a bait. It looked like they were gifting. Perfect hook lands as Ryu is going to set up another kill for Millip, and it was such a bait. The Trojan horse of the low health dragon sets up 3 more kills in favor of ViV.
Yeah, Principality and especially Amy were just way too low on health, and even though the members on the side of ViV were so low as well, they had a numbers advantage. I think it was like 4 versus 3 in the end there. Hopefully we can get like a replay or something of that play. But you know, when you're on the side of Principality and when you're trying to make these team fights a possibility, you need to make sure you have enough health for it. You need to make sure you're at least at an even numbers advantage. And unfortunately for them, they weren't able to. And now the set's starting to fall behind a little bit. Again, the rotations from Ryu down to the duo lane, being able to catch out Set, and also got caught in the mid lane as well. And now this is where Set could be a little bit of a struggle. And again, more rotation.
2 versus 1 in the bot lane. This is exactly what we were talking about. Attack the side lane and prevent anything from happening in mid lane, because now Principality have to drag people down to the bottom lane to stop the Jax. And here's where mid lane's in threat, because does Amy know that there's a Zed here? There's a Thresh here to try and attack under the turret. It's actually not Amy they're going to go for. They're going to look for Blaster, and Blaster's going to re-engage. Suplex out as Zed tries to escape. A lot of damage down in favor of Principality to start, though, as that mid tower is still healthy. Hextech Ultimatum dashes out from a lot of the crowd control, but it's not enough to keep Camille alive. Rampage for Millip, and it's all starting to twist further in favor of them.
Yeah, ViV getting so far ahead now. You know, I think you explained it perfectly before that fight even happened. You know, being able to get that pick in the duo lane means that you have to send members. The side of Principality has to send members, and then it opens up that mid lane tower. It opens up the play in the mid lane. And instead of going on to the Camille, they actually found Set again. You know, rotations of Set this game have not really been too great. You know, getting caught in the duo lane, getting caught in the mid lane twice now. And they tried to turn it, but to be honest, even the tower can't really help Principality at the moment because ViV are so far ahead. You can see he has 2 items now. You can see the gold lead. He's over 1,000 gold behind as well, and that's pretty much the same across the board. But look at Millip in the top lane. We haven't really spoken too much about him, but he's 5, 1, and 4. He nearly has 12,000 gold. That's pretty much 2,000 gold, or 2,000 gold plus ahead of like the rest of his team.
Oh, the attempted engage on Kranix just fails, and actually Viv are going to opt into the fight. Corki did just pick up package to start this engage. It's a 3 versus 3, but when Alice is 20% health, that's not really in favor of Principality at all. I was going to say, like, Corki picking up package even before the timer of Baron started is a little early for my tastes, but if Viv do choose to fight in the jungle, the package could go, and it's looked for a moment to be Principality picking a fight topside, but Viv have rotated up. Wukong is burning down with the ignite. He's basically out of this fight as that last tick will pick him up. Zed's Deathmark will proc and take Camille out of the fight as well. Amy is gone. Jesus is gone as well, as it's a double kill for Tyra's messy end to this fight as Set has hung on for just about long enough. Kranix and Sharks are going to push down the tower with Millip. It's 5 kills in exchange for 2 in favor of Viv.
Yeah, 10,000 gold lead for the side of Viv, and again, another tower dive. There's not really much they could do. Set did get like a few shutdowns and a few kills there, so that's definitely going to help him out. But looking at the team fight again, you can just see they're trying to get a team fight going on the side of Principality. The package was really good as well. The zone of members of Viv, but they're just too far behind at this point, and there's not really much they could do. You can see how much damage Set can do, especially with the Haymaker true damage as well. You can see he did get a double kill, but in the end, another tower dive, another convincing victory for ViV Esports, and they're going to be looking to try and go for this next dragon. It is the mountain dragon that's going to be spawning in about 20 seconds time.
Wild Rift exclusive players won't have been exposed to the danger that is Rumble and the Equalizer in team fights, but that's basically the package in these team fights. It's like if you landed in a good spot, you can see how quickly it can even up a team fight with the amount of damage it does. But nevertheless, that 10,000 gold lead is really astronomical, and I fear that once this dragon goes over to Viv, if they do manage to take it, really hard for Principality to output enough damage to eat through the shield and eat through the health bars of Viv.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really spoken too much about, you know, late game of these two comps as well, but we spoke a little bit about Jax and Fiora. You can see they pretty much have exactly the same build, but speaking of which, Millip might get caught here.
2 versus 1 against Millip, but there's an engage in the bottom side soon as well. Is Millip is going to... Oh, no way. Proto belts out, gets the crab movement speed as well. And look, Viv have already set up in the bottom side as soon as they catch one person. If Blaster can get a good ult here, it would be enough to turn it back around. But actually, pings on the map because Kranix was in mid lane. And that's a sign that Viv know exactly how to play this composition out. We heard our nation in the interview you did with him say, we don't know how good Viv are as a team. We think we're better on the side of Zero Zone. Well, Viv are very confident playing the macro game in this game, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was about to say as well, the rotations and the way that Viv are playing around the map are just so well. They see that maybe on the top side of the map, like in that situation, they know that 2 members are up there. So look, let's try and make another play on the other side of the map, or they can try and get a pick on one side of the map and then look for a play on the other side of the map because they're going to have that numbers advantage. They're kind of hesitating around this Baron at the moment. They can take this Baron really quickly with Morgana, but Fiora is down in the duo lane though, but she's going to be getting that source of pressure. But as mentioned, you know, they have so much late game potential with Fiora, Jax, Morgana.
League Macro 101. I'm going to cut you off. This is a lesson for newer players. Fiora's going to create a problem in the bottom side that as soon as somebody from Principality shows up, the rest of the team from Viv start Baron. If nobody shows up, Fiora takes multiple towers and inhibitors, and Viv just never start the Baron. And here we go. Millip started. Camille will show. Millip backs away. The team can start Baron if they want to.
Yeah, this is a jungler on the side of Principality. Honestly, Viv could honestly just go for the dragon, but instead of going for fight.
They're going to go on to Blaster. Oh, brilliant. Hook lands again, but you back away from the fight, and you buy the time for Fiora again. Fiora Grand Challenge goes out. Can Millip get the damage down? A little bit messy here, as under the turret is not enough damage down. 3 people are committed. The Baron is going to go over. Millip is fine to trade his life here for this. Even gets the turret. Baron should be over to Viv. Incoming engage though, as Alistair's going to go in. Remember, there is no smite available. Teleport coming through. Alistair has fallen. Baron is already down before Camille shows up. Amy just has to pick up kills to try and dissuade this. It's Jax picking up a second kill from this. Camille is going to fall for the triple kill, as Jax is going to keep the damage coming. If Jax can get it, no, it's Morgana is going to shut off a quadra kill. Stasis comes through. Tyrus doesn't get the 4th kill. Double kill with a triple kill. Full house for Viv, all in exchange just for Millip.
Yep, as you said, you know, that Viv will take that any day of the week. Like I said, perfect macro on the side of Viv. And the thing is with Fiora as well, there's no one that can really deal with the Fiora at this stage of the game. That's why they had to send Amy down there as a jungler. But yeah, that's it. They needed one more fight, and that's it. That is going to be the game. And Viv Esports are going to take a pretty convincingly 2-0 victory against Principality.
Yeah, that was a really impressive game. Very patient and played out to the perfect way that you would want a team to play out a macro game like that, where it's just like, okay, I'll push the side lane. If they commit to me, you take the Baron. And this is one of the things that I think people get so frustrated in with like solo queue, and that is wildly different in competitive. As soon as you have that communication, it's so easy to play out with that kind of lead.
Yeah, exactly. You know, as you mentioned during the game, you know, getting that split push pressure. They had Jax, they had Fiora as well, so multiple members can split push on the side of the ViV Esports. And in the end, it was ViV Esports that took the game. And yeah, this early game pressure as well. And the early game rotations again by Ryu, and you can see in the replays now, Ryu again being kind of the forefront of this team. Really, we spoke about, you know, Kranix before the game as well. Again, Kranix had a really solid performance on the Morgana. We can see that he can play AP mages, and they can flex that Morgana the dual lane or even in the support role as well. And yeah, in the late game as well, they were able to get the kind of the split side of Principality. They weren't able to you know, on the side of Principality, they weren't able to find that team fight really that they really needed. And you know, in the end, it was Viv just kind of using Principality to just go around the map and kind of toy with them in the end.
Yeah, that's the difficulty with these split team fights when you're running against side lane, is like you have to, you basically just have to full on commit to the team fight and hope that you get what you need from it because you have the numbers advantage. It makes it a little difficult when the enemy have Morgana Thresh and they're the ones that are kind of holding people back. So really impressive by Viv. I thought Principality did show us quite a bit, especially in the first game. I think this one was a harder one to play out for Principality side of things, but certainly looking forward to seeing how their progression through the lower bracket goes as they continue. But Viv, I was wondering coming into the series after the interview, like, are we wrong with the way that we rated Viv highly coming from the Purge tournament that we casted in January? But this is actually better than what we saw from Viv in that tournament. I would put money on that. Like, I felt like there were rough edges in January. Feels like they've really ironed them out.
Yeah, I mean, as I said in the pre-game as well, they've been playing with each other for such a long time now. They've swapped out Ryu now. Ryu's now their support. And again, I feel like Ryu is kind of the rock of this team. He's the one that's making rotation. He's the one that's going around the map, being able to make these picks. And in the end, ViV Esports take it, and we get two zeros today, Stress. We don't, unfortunately, get any 2-1s today, but hopefully tomorrow we might get some 2-1s.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get a few more closer games. I mean, we started with a 12-0 game for the day, but our second series of the day was a very convincing game from Viv, or 2 games, I should say, convincing from Viv. Let's head over to Hells and hear a little bit more from the players from Viv.
Yeah, hello. That was a very amazing and dominating performance from you, from the team. And firstly, I want to ask, was this an expected performance? Was it expected that you would absolutely dominate this enemy?
I think we were expecting to dominating them. I sadly didn't know the roster that much because I'm also not that much into the Spanish league, but I think we were definitely the more dominant team and knew that we could easily wipe them with 2-0. So, and I think we proved that right today.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about Spanish teams, what do you think about Zero Zone? That was the team that played before you. They showed an absolutely dominating performance as well. And you facing off against them, it's, in my opinion, going to be an amazing match. But what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I definitely think that Zero Zone is a really strong team, especially the jungler, Lubunia. We see him a lot and also on solo queue, especially on Rengar, Kha'Zix, Lee, and he's really strong. But not only the jungler, overall the team chemistry is really good. And I'm looking forward to playing them in the next round. I think it's going to be a tough match against them.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that match. And then the last question is, how do you see yourself facing against the higher ranked teams, right? Like, you're a former WREC player, you know how good they are. And how do you see yourself facing with the current lineup of your team, which seems incredibly powerful to me, against teams like Game Lord and WREC in this competition?
I definitely think we have a chance against WREC, Game Lord, Na'Vi, Team Queso. We have scrimmed already for like the past month together. Swapped also like Ryu for Floor because also Floor, our support, is currently not available. But I do think we have a chance against the top teams and still have a way to go.
Well, that's great to hear. Seems like you have a lot of confidence in you and your team.
Yep.
So thank you very much for the interview. Wish you the best of luck in the competition. And then, yeah, we go back to Stress Stewart.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Kranix. I'm going to open myself up to be flamed from Rick's members. I'll take this bullet and say, well, last time we saw Rick's, you and I didn't think their games were as strong as they have been in the past. So we'll see in the future if Kranix goes up against his former team to see who comes out on top. There are so many storylines coming out of today. Like, I would not have put ViV and Zero Zone as like a super ultra hype matchup, but now watching these two, how well they played today, that's a must see next week or whenever it is.
Definitely.
I need to find out when it is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both of these teams, you know, both ViV and Zero Zone, both really dominant on day number 1 here of the EMEA Championships. You can see the damage and the gold graph as well. And, you know, we're speaking about Kranix. So I'm actually glad we actually talked about Kranix because that was kind of, you know, the talking point. You know, can he play these AP majors? We haven't seen him play for a long time, but you can see that they have that flexibility in that dual lane, which can be so strong, and especially during drafts as well. You know, Kranix can play Morgana. Ryu can either play Morgana support, and he brought out his Vayne as well. So I'm really excited. I still think that this team roster can do really well. And again, you know, as Hells mentioned already, you know, the Zero Zone versus ViV matchup in the second round of the upper bracket now, that's definitely going to be one to watch going into the second rounds.
Yeah, it will be. We'll take a look and see who had the play of the game, whether it was set up by Ryu. We heard that Ryu's not the actual full-time support, but looked pretty good in this game. But looking at the play of the game, Stu, I mean, this is around that Baron, around the Baron to set up the win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, we kind of spoke about this already, but they were able to create that pressure in the bot side of the map. And you can see ViV Esports, they were kind of playing the macro game completely perfect. You can see Jax in the end getting a triple kill. We were hoping maybe for another pentakill. That's twice now that ViV got really close to getting a pentakill, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to. Yeah, in the end, I think the main thing to take away from ViV Esports is their macro. Individually, they're really talented as well, but their macro game as well, being able to split push and that communication that they have as well. It's like, okay, there's multiple members down in the duo lane with Fiora, let's go for this Baron. And you saw in the end, Principality were like, wait, Baron's being taken, we need to go and try and get it. And in the end, they was just going in one by one. And his team fight composition that Principality brought up, they didn't really get a real 5 versus 5 team fight. It was just so split throughout the whole game.
Pulled across the map, baited almost as much as I was by 2 triple kills that could have been pentakills, but nevertheless, we live on for another day, and so do Principality. They have the lower bracket ahead of them, but for ViV, let's take a look at who was the player to secure the MVP. I think multiple people could get this. I think there's even an argument for Ryu to get it, but I mean, Kranix looked good. Tyra's looked good. Ryu looked good. I mean, these team fights were very impressive. It's actually going to be Miller after that Darius performance from the first game.
Yeah, I think both the games, I think it was a little bit of maybe, you know, nerves coming into this series, and in the early laning phase in the first game, he was looking a little bit shaky. But when he got into late game on that Darius, even in the second game as well, when he was able to get his hands on the Fiora, in the end, he had so much gold as well. But I think, as you mentioned, the MVP could have gone to anyone on the side of ViV Esports. You know, Ryu with the Rones, Kranix on the Vayne as well, and showing the AP mages, Shogs as well in the mid lane. Every single member on the side of ViV Esports put up a great performance, but deservedly, Miller is able to get the MVP.
Yeah, deserving MVP. We're going to welcome back in Hells to wrap up the day with us. And I mean, we hear everybody talk about solo queue Baron lanes. Oh, it's not quite so good. But I mean, we saw 2 MVPs go to Baron laners today. Like both Baron laners, when you can communicate around that side lane, we saw the impact you can have. And I feel like Miller very well deserved, especially like the Fiora decision making was great. Hells, I know you were keeping an eye on the second game. Anything else you want to wrap up on that second series from us?
I mean, honestly, MVP of the game, who should you give it to? Like, they were all the MVPs of the game, in my opinion. They just played so incredibly well together. And like, really, that's what I have to say. They were all MVPs to me, at least.
Yeah, they certainly were. I think we saw a lot of interesting differences in playstyle today. We saw a lot of teamfight compositions fall behind early game, and a lot of the side lane compositions run away with it. Stuart, do you think that's indicative of like the meta where we are right now? We've talked about those mages like holding mid lane and then backing away. Are you expecting more from this over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned a little bit already, kind of the meta's still like up in the air a little bit. We haven't really seen competitive games for a month, and it's been a long time since then. And obviously with Set coming in as well, and Yuumi eventually coming in as well, which might put a little swing on things as well. But we might have to wait for a little bit for Yuumi, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, the meta is still up there. I'm glad we got to see Set today. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get the victory, but hopefully we see some more Set. No Jace today, 100% banned throughout the whole day. But yeah, as you said, the AP mages and everything as well. It was just a really, really good, interesting day, really, to see what the meta is shaping out.
Very fun day. 2 of our Titans are going to take to the Wild Rift tomorrow, though, when we are going to see 2 more series. This time it's going to be Game Lords taking to the Rift as well as Team Queso. So when we look at tomorrow's matchups, I feel like everyone's going to say that it's a little bit one-sided, like Game Lords taking on Aphelion in our first matchup of the day, and then Team Queso, as you said, taking to the Rift in our second series. I know we've all 3 of us predicted that these are going to be games, but is there one of these matchups, Hells, that you think has an opportunity of going not to be a 2-0 for the Game Lord or Queso side?
No. That's the simple answer. No.
Short and sweet. Okay. Well, that's the thing that we love here with an open bracket as well. There are obviously things that we might very well see upsets come from. This is the filled out first day of the bracket. So Zero Zone took the 2-0. ViV Esports took the 2-0, both looking convincingly. I'm hoping that the Supremacy or Aphelion can at least give us competitive matchups, surprise us a little bit. And then we take a look down into the lower bracket where it's Last Chance Saloon for Weigers and Principality. Stuart, looking at those 2 teams, any thoughts on who you think looked the stronger coming out of today?
I mean, we spoke a little bit about the upper bracket, about the close match between ViV Esports and Zero Zone, but I think the lower bracket as well, Weigers versus Principality, both of them didn't really have the best performances today, but again, it's another all-Spanish clash down in the lower side of the bracket, and like you said, it's a last chance for both of them teams, so going into that lower bracket, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, kind of, I guess, test in a way, some new things, and also look at the teams as well and make sure that they know what they're doing going into it. Because as you said, if they lose that game, they're out of the tournament, and they have to try and go through the last chance qualifier.
That would be an early exit before the last chance qualifier, which feels like it's months away. But given how quickly Show 1 came up and our first 2 series, I'm very excited to see how the tournament progresses. That's pretty much it. That's day 1 in the books. And we've all been waiting for this moment for so long, where we've been able to get onto the Rift for official esports tournament for the Wild Rift. That's it for day 1 for the Wild Rift EMEA Championships. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Hells, for joining me. I've been James O'Leary. We will catch you tomorrow for day 2. Some massive games right around the corner.